Hi guys, welcome to my SEO and web design video blog, where I provide hints, tips and advice on helping you to improve your website's SEO and also improve your website design. I'm your host, Andy Morley. In this article, I will discuss 20 basic on-site SEO things to consider when optimizing your own website. Search engine optimization can be a rather confusing concept to understand and also to implement. However, once you are comfortable with the basics, you can become proficient in the field in no time. Number 1. Your page title tags. Your page title tags are one of the most important elements of your site's code with regards to SEO. The title tag should be written so they include most important keywords of your page. It is known that web pages that contain target keywords within their title tags generally rank higher in search engines than those which don't. This is because search engines understand the content and topic of a page using its title tags. The correct keywords embedded in the title tags help search engines to associate their page with the search query and can result in your page ranking higher. Keywords should be implemented somewhere near the beginning of the title tag. Keywords that match a search query will appear in bold in the search results page, and it is widely believed that this practice helps to improve click-through rate. If you are using WordPress for your website, there is a useful plugin called Yoast SEO which helps you to manage your page title tags. Number 2. Title tag character length. Getting the length of your page title correct can be crucial. If it is too long, then the search engines will not show it in its entirety within the search engine result pages. The first 50 to 60 characters of a title tag are usually able to be seen by most desktop and mobile browsers. If you keep your titles below 60 characters, our data shows that you'll likely have 90% of them display correctly in the search engine. There is no such thing as an exact character limit because characters vary in actual pixel width. When Google crawls a page, it will look at the entire title tag when assessing human readability and comprehension. Even if the full title tag is not displayed in full in the search engines, Google spiders are thought to consider the entire title tag. Number 3. Your H1 tag. Keywords within the H1 are a must for SEO and are usually synonymous with ranking well. Many SEO consultants believe that placing keywords in the H1 can boost search engine rankings. This is certainly my viewpoint and has been something I've been doing for many years. Your H1 should include your most important keyword target and match what your title tag is targeting. Number 4. Meta description tags. Meta description tags are used by search engines to give searchers an idea of what your page is about. The meta description should include your keyword phrase, if possible, and be written for humans. Meta descriptions are widely thought not to have a direct impact on your rankings in Google or the other search engines. They can be used to understand what the page is about and encourage searchers to click through when it's relevant to their query. With that said, they should always be included as best practice. They should be well written and enticing to the user, which will help to improve your website's click-through rate from the search results. Number 5. URLs and keywords. One of the most fundamental on-site SEO tips is URL structures rich in keywords. URLs should be written in such a way as to correctly target your keywords. In URLs, spaces should be replaced with dashes and words should not form one long string of characters. A good URL example would be www.examplewebsite.com/SEO-tutorials. A bad URL example would be www.examplewebsite.com/SEO tutorials. Please note here where the word SEO tutorials isn't split up using a hyphen, so it will be read as a string of characters. In some content management systems which dynamically generate page URLs, you may also see a series of numbers and special characters within a URL. These are also deemed not SEO friendly. An example would be www.examplewebsite.com/page ID equals 1123 ? Web. In WordPress, these URLs are determined using the permalink settings. WordPress also refers to URLs as slugs. The most useful permalink setting in WordPress is %postname%. Number 6. Content and keywords. Well-written content for your web pages is vital. It should be grammatically correct, Have no spelling errors and be of sufficient length or word count to accurately describe your subject matter. Adding keywords within your written content of your pages is vital for them to rank. These should be your primary keywords and also any related terms and synonyms. Be careful not to overuse your keywords within your content, as they may start to read unnatural and look spammy. When writing content, you should always consider the reader rather than the search engines. There are two things to consider when trying to include keywords within your written content: density and proximity. Number 7. Keyword density. Keyword density is a representation of how often your keyword appears within the overall content of a page. It is usually determined by a percentage. Many SEO consultants recommend a density of no more than 3%, meaning the remaining 97% of the words on the page shouldn't be keyword targeted at all. If your content was made up of 100 words, only 3 of those should be keywords. If your content was 200 words, then only 6 should be keywords, and so on. A really useful tool for checking your keyword density is available by SEOreviewtools.com, where you can either specify a URL for the tool to check or copy and paste a block of text into it. If you're using WordPress and Yoast SEO, their plugin contains a density checker and will highlight any issues before you publish. Number 8. Keyword proximity. Search queries are usually carried out using multiple words, making up a search phrase. The proximity of the keyword is determined by how many other words make up a phrase and how they are positioned within the content of your pages. For example, if a user were to search Web Design Derby, and on my page I have a sentence which reads, "Andy Morley is a web design development specialist based in Derby," you will see the proximity between web and design as 0, as they are placed side by side. The proximity of design and Derby is 5, as 5 words are separating these two keywords. Higher proximities are thought to be less relevant to search queries. The closer your keywords are to each other in a sentence or paragraph, the more relevant they are to each other. However, this can be quite difficult when writing content that is both grammatically correct and reads well for the reader. Number 9. Word count. One of the most vital on-site SEO tips is word count. Search engines tend to like long-form content. The majority of pages that rank for a given term usually have a substantial word count. There's no official guidelines as to how many words should be on your pages. Use as many as necessary to get your message across without going overboard and droning on. When writing articles, I tend to aim for a word count around 1500 words, especially if the article is quite in-depth. Pages with very little wording are said to be thin in content. However, thin can also refer to lack of video and images on a page. One of the first things I do when starting a new SEO project for a client is to audit their site content, making notes on any pages where their word count could be expanded. I've even managed to significantly improve clients' search rankings by simply adding more words to their pages. It can be that simple. Number 10. Image alt attributes and keywords. An image alt is generally used for a brief description of an image, should the image fail to load correctly. It is widely accepted that an image alt can help search engines determine the subject of a web page. Inserting keywords into these short descriptions can help with the on-site SEO of your pages. There is also an image long description. However, these seem to be less common online than they used to be. Many CMSs don't use them. In the past, when hand-coded websites were the norm, the long description of an image could also be used to help target your keywords. The original use for the image alt attributes and their long desc attribute was pretty much the same, to accurately describe the content of an image. Number 11. Internal linking. Internal linking is a key element in an SEO strategy. These are links from one page to another on your own website. The anchor text for these links can be a huge influence on your rankings. Use keywords where possible to link to another page. These keywords should ideally be the primary target or closely related to the destination page's content. Internal linking is a great signal for the search engines as to which pages should rank for a specific keyword. Google Search Console even provides you with an internal links report, so you can see which of your site pages have the highest number of internal links pointing towards them. Your most important pages should have the highest number of internal links. Number 12. Unique page titles and meta descriptions. I mentioned earlier that your page title and meta description are used to describe to the search engines what the subject or topic of your page is about. If you have multiple pages with the same title or description, it may cause issues when the search engines index your pages. They may not be able to accurately determine which page on your site is intended to rank for which keyword. This can result in fluctuations in rankings where Google displays different pages within its search results each day. This problem is referred to as keyword cannibalization. It can also occur if multiple pages have content that is similar to each other, a service page and a blog post, for example. I wrote an in-depth article about keyword cannibalization for SEO on my agency's website. This is the reason you should always make sure your page titles and descriptions are unique on each page. Number 13. Nofollow your outbound links. Linking to other pages or websites from your page content is said to help your SEO, provided you link out to reputable sources. These links should be used to support the subject you are writing about, providing your readers with another source of information to validate what you are saying. Links between websites are fundamental to SEO. Specifically, receiving inbound links from other sites is a key factor in improving your rankings. If you're linking out to another website, it is recommended that you mark these outbound links as nofollow. There are a few reasons to do this. Number 1. Adding nofollow is an indicator for the search engine spiders to remain on your page and ignore a link to another site, retaining these spiders on your own website. Number 2. Nofollow should be applied to a link that points to a lower quality website, one which you can't vouch for. Number 3. Google introduced the nofollow attribute to combat link building spam. If you don't want your content to appear spammy, you should consider linking out using nofollow. Nofollow links are thought to have little SEO value, as Google has stated that generally these links aren't followed or crawled. So if you think about attracting links into your website, only followable links are likely to help your SEO in broad terms. However, if all of your inbound links were followable, it looks unnatural and could result in problems with your SEO all on its own. It is always better to get a balance of both nofollow and followed links when looking at your own website's link building activity. 14. Load speeds. Website load speed has become more and more important in recent years. Over 50% of all searches within Google are performed on a mobile device. Smartphones using the 5G network need to be able to quickly load your website to display your content to potential customers. If your website is slow to load, users may get fed up with waiting and likely head back to the Google search results to find another website, quite possibly one of your competitors. Load speeds can be determined by many different factors, all of which are related to your on-site SEO. How your site has been coded, which CMS it uses, even the web server it is hosted on. However, by far the most common issue with slow websites is the size of the photos and images on the pages. With size, I'm not necessarily referring to pixel dimensions, rather the actual file size in kilobytes of the images. The amount of data the user has to download to display your website is vital to ensure it is quick to load within their browser, especially on mobile devices. Tackling any aspects of your site which could be slowing it down is vital. Thankfully, there are two main tools available to site owners to help them understand what needs fixing: Google PageSpeed Insights and GTmetrix. Number 15. 404s and 301s. 404 errors can be detrimental to your search rankings. A 404 error is generated by your hosting server when a specific page URL cannot be found, commonly known as a page not found error. If Google has indexed your website and has a list of page URLs which feature on your site, it will then display this URL for many searches matching the content of that URL. If these URLs were to change, then anybody visiting your site from a search engine will get this page not found error. The likelihood in this instance is that they will go back to Google and find another website instead. This is an issue, not just with your SEO, but also with your users. These 404 errors should be closely monitored and rectified once found. The most common way to do this is by implementing a redirect of your old URL to the new one. There are two types of redirect you should consider. First is a 301 or permanent redirect, which is the most useful for SEO, or a 302 temporary redirect. The search engines handle these differently, so you should choose the correct method when fixing your 404 errors. If you were to implement a 302 redirect, Google will keep the old URL in its index, as you are telling it that it is a temporary error and the old not found URL will soon be back online. However, if you use a 301 redirect, Google will drop the old URL from its index and replace it with your new URL. Monitoring 404 errors is fairly easy. Google Search Console will tell you which pages Google knows about which have resulted in a 404 error. If you are a WordPress user, there is also a really useful plugin simply called Redirection. This plugin helps you identify these 404 errors within your site and allows you to quickly set up a 301 redirect to fix the issue. It is important to note that for any 404 errors on your website, you should also try to update any internal links. Number 16. Canonicalisation. Setting up URL canonicalisation can be important for SEO in a way to handle duplicate content. It is done using a canonical attribute in your page's code. A canonical tag, sometimes known as rel canonical, is a method of informing search engines that a specific URL is the primary version of a page. The use of the canonical tag prevents duplicate or similar content from being listed on multiple URLs. The canonical tag can be used to prevent duplicate content and determine the correct URL to index. For example, examplewebsite.com, www.examplewebsite.com, www.examplewebsite.com/index.php. These three examples all represent the homepage of a website. All three URLs will show the same content. We need a way to tell Google which version of the homepage should be indexed, and this is where the rel canonical element helps. Number 17. Robots.txt. What is a robots.txt file? The robots.txt file is a small text file that allows you to ask the search engine crawlers not to crawl or index part of your website. This can be useful when there are areas on your site you don't want to be indexed, but still visible to users, such as a shopping cart or administrative panels. The robots.txt file is placed on the web server and provides instructions to the search engines on how to handle specific areas of your site. Any areas which should not be indexed should be marked as disallow. In the following example, we will be telling the user agents, crawlers such as Googlebot, not to index any pages within the administration area or uploads directory. User agent star. This refers to all crawlers such as Googlebot, Bingbot, Yahoo, and all other search engines. Disallow administration. This is telling the search engines not to index the administration directory. Disallow uploads. In a similar way, this is telling the search engines not to index the uploads directory. If you're using a CMS such as WordPress, this text file is automatically set up for you. However, if you're coding a website by hand, you will have to write one yourself. Number 18. XML Sitemaps. Search engines need to be able to discover your website pages before they can be added to their index. The search engines will crawl the content of your website and take note of all the links to your pages. This is one method they can discover all the pages on your site. However, there is a problem we touched on earlier, in that as soon as the crawler hits an outbound link, it will shoot off to another site and start crawling that one instead. This can cause issues in getting your site fully indexed. One solution is to set up an XML file that contains all the URLs of your pages within it. This file is then submitted to the search engines for them to visit each URL and index them. With Google, this is done via Google Search Console. Not all CMSs will generate this for you. Shopify and Magento do, but WordPress doesn't. An additional plugin such as Yoast SEO will be required to generate an XML sitemap containing your page URLs. This can then be submitted to search engines to encourage them to index your pages. Number 19. SSL Certificates. An SSL certificate or Secure Socket Layer certificate is used to authenticate your website and create a secure connection with the browser. This helps to prevent data leakage and helps keep your information secure. This is extremely important for transactional websites. In the past, all e-commerce websites were expected to use an SSL certificate to help keep users' credit card details safe and secure. However, in early 2018, Google began to roll out an update to the Google Chrome browser which would flag up any website which isn't secure and using an SSL. This effectively forced website owners to adopt their usage on all websites. Redirecting all old non-secure HTTP URLs to their secure HTTPS versions was required. This is usually done on your hosting account when installing an SSL certificate. However, you should also set this up on your htaccess file on your server, if it's a PHP or Apache server, which is the most common here in the UK. Number 20. Geo-targeting using image EXIF data. If you're hoping to attract local customers from the search engines, then setting up local SEO is a must. If your website is based in a city and your customers are also in that location, there are several ways you can geographically target your website. The first is the hreflang tag. This broadly tells the search engines which country your website services. There is also your address and postcode, which should feature on your website, commonly the Contact Us page. Finally, there is more advanced location targeting available within the metadata of your website itself, specifically the images on your site. When a photo is taken, a digital camera will add metadata or EXIF data to the image, such as the date and time the photo was taken, but it will also add a geographical coordinates to the data. This data is useful for Google in determining where you are located. This is quite a technical aspect of SEO and relies on you using your own photographs. Another issue is that once you edit your photos in Photoshop or other editing tools to make them small enough to use on the web, quite often this location EXIF data is stripped out. There are settings within Photoshop specifically to preserve EXIF data of your images, or even add EXIF data if it is missing. EXIF data which should be added should include the geographical coordinates of the area you wish to target for your SEO. Thank you for watching my video on 20 basic SEO tips. I hope you have found them useful. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel where I'll be providing hints and tips on SEO and web design. You can also check out my website for further articles related to these two subjects on www.andymorley.co.uk. You can also find me on social media, on Twitter at Andy_Morley, Facebook Andy Morley SEO, and on LinkedIn Andy P. Morley. A special thank you goes out to videasy.com for the use of their particles stock footage.